Welcome to Jesus Leads Bible Journey. In chapters 21 to 36, Israel nears the Promised Land. There are victories and failures, signs of healing, prophecies both true and twisted, and the rise of a new generation. Laws are renewed, territory is claimed, and God's promises stand strong as ever. Let's walk the final stretch together. Chapter 21. Battles, serpents, and the God who heals Israel was attacked. The king of Arad heard they were coming and took some of them captive. So the people made a vow to the Lord. If you give us victory, we will destroy their cities. The Lord listened, and they defeated the Canaanites. The place was called Hormah. Then they traveled around Edom, and again the people grew impatient. They spoke against God and Moses. Why have you brought us here to die? There's no bread, no water. We hate this miserable food. So the Lord sent venomous snakes. They bit the people, and many died. Then the people came to Moses and said, "We have sinned. Pray for us." Moses prayed, and the Lord said, "Make a bronze serpent. Put it on a pole. Anyone who looks at it will live." So Moses did, and whoever looked at the bronze serpent was healed. They moved forward through the wilderness toward the Jordan. There were battles with Sihon, king of the Amorites, and Og, king of Bashan, and the Lord gave them victory again. Israel camped in the plains of Moab, ready to cross over into the land they had waited for so long. God is both just and merciful. When we turn to Him in faith, even in our failure, He heals and leads us forward. Chapter 22. Balaam, the king, and the donkey who saw Israel camped on the plains of Moab, across from Jericho. And King Balak of Moab was afraid. He had seen what Israel did to the Amorites. He knew they could not be stopped by swords alone. So Balak sent messengers to Balaam, a prophet who lived far away. He said, "Come, curse these people for me. They are too powerful. Perhaps then I can defeat them." The messengers brought gifts, money, influence. Balaam asked God, and God said, "Do not go with them. Do not curse these people. They are blessed." So Balaam refused, but Balak sent more princes with even greater promises. Again, Balaam asked God, and this time God allowed him to go, but only speak what I tell you. So Balaam saddled his donkey and went. But God was angry, because Balaam's heart was not set to obey, only to profit. So the angel of the Lord stood in the road to oppose him. Balaam didn't see the angel, but the donkey did. It turned off the path. Balaam struck it. It pressed against a wall. Balaam struck it again. Then it simply lay down. And Balaam, furious, beat the donkey a third time. Then the Lord opened the donkey's mouth. It said, "What have I done to you, that you've struck me these 3 times?" And Balaam answered, as if it were normal, "You've made a fool of me. If I had a sword, I would kill you." Then the Lord opened Balaam's eyes, and he saw the angel, sword drawn, standing in the road. The angel said, "Your path is reckless. If not for the donkey, I would have struck you down." Balaam bowed low. "I have sinned," he said. But the angel repeated, "Go with them, but only speak what I tell you." So Balaam continued on, but now with fear and with an angel watching his every word. Sometimes the most stubborn prophet needs a humble donkey to see what's truly holy. God cannot be bought, and His word cannot be twisted. Chapter 23. The prophet who could not curse Balaam stood before King Balak. Altars were built. 7 bulls and 7 rams were offered. Balak waited, hoping for a curse. But Balaam said, "I can only speak the words God puts in my mouth." Then God gave Balaam a word, and Balaam spoke, "From the heights I see them, a people set apart. Who can count the dust of Jacob? Let me die the death of the righteous." Balak was furious. "You were supposed to curse them. Instead, you blessed them." But Balaam replied, "Must I not speak what the Lord gives me?" So they tried again. They moved to another place, another set of altars, more sacrifices. Perhaps from here, God would allow a curse. Again, Balaam went aside to meet God, and again he returned with a word of blessing. He said, God is not a man that he should lie. He has blessed, and I cannot change it. The Lord their God is with them. The shout of a king is among them. There is no divination against Israel. Balak cried out, if you won't curse them, at least don't bless them. But Balaam answered, did I not tell you? I must do whatever the Lord says. No one can curse what God has blessed. And even when the world pays for compromise, truth stands unmoved in the mouth of the obedient. Chapter 24. The Spirit speaks, and a star rises by now. Balaam knew the truth. The Lord would not allow him to curse Israel. So this time, he didn't seek omens. He simply looked. He turned his face toward the wilderness and saw Israel camped tribe by tribe, and the Spirit of God came upon him. Then Balaam spoke, how beautiful are your tents, O Jacob, like valleys spread out, like gardens beside a river. God has blessed them, and I cannot reverse it. He continued, the Lord their God brings them out of Egypt. They devour nations like a lion. Blessed are those who bless you, and cursed are those who curse you. At this, Balak's anger exploded. He struck his hands together. I called you to curse my enemies, and 3 times you blessed them. Now go home. I would have rewarded you, but the Lord has kept you from honor. But Balaam replied, did I not say, I cannot go beyond the Lord's command? Then Balaam gave one last word. He lifted his eyes and prophesied again, I see him, but not now. I behold him, but not near. A star will come out of Jacob. A scepter will rise from Israel. He will crush his enemies. He spoke of Edom, of Amalek, of destruction to come. Then Balaam rose and returned home, and Balak also went his way. Because when the Spirit speaks, no king can silence him. And in the middle of political games and hidden motives, God still points forward to a star rising from Jacob. Chapter 25. Zeal, sin, and the plague that stopped at a spear. While Israel camped at Shittim, the people began to sin. They slept with Moabite women. They ate sacrifices to false gods. They bowed before Baal of Peor, and the Lord's anger burned hot. God said to Moses, take all the leaders who have joined this idolatry and put them to death in broad daylight, so my fierce anger may turn away. Moses commanded the judges, each of you must kill the men under your authority who have yoked themselves to Baal. And then, in full view of everyone, an Israelite man brought a Midianite woman into his tent, right before the eyes of Moses and the entire assembly, while they were still weeping. At the entrance of the tent of meeting, but one man, Phinehas, son of Eleazar, grandson of Aaron, rose up. He took a spear. He entered the tent, and he struck them both through, the man and the woman, together. And just like that, the plague stopped, but not before 24,000 people had died. Then the Lord spoke, Phinehas has turned my anger away. His zeal was as my own. Therefore I make with him a covenant of peace, a lasting priesthood. But of the Midianites, God said, treat them as enemies, for they led you into deception at Peor. The holiness cannot be passive. Sin spreads fast, but one righteous act, born from zeal for God's name, can stop a nation from falling. Chapter 26. A new generation, counted for the promise after the plague. The Lord spoke to Moses and Eleazar, son of Aaron. He said, take a new census. Count the men, 20 years and older, all who are able to go to war. So on the plains of Moab, by the Jordan across from Jericho, they began, one tribe at a time, a name, a number, a future. This was not the same generation that left Egypt. They had fallen in the wilderness. Only 2 remained, Caleb, son of Jephunneh, and Joshua, son of Nun. Everyone else, everyone counted in the first census at Sinai, was gone. Each tribe was recorded: Reuben, Simeon, Gad, Judah, Issachar, Zebulun, Ephraim, Manasseh, Benjamin, Dan, Asher, Naphtali. The totals were different now, smaller in some tribes, larger in others. But the purpose was clear. These are the ones who will enter the land. Then the Lord gave further instruction. Distribute the land by lot, according to the size of each tribe. The inheritance will be based on the number of names. And the Levites were counted separately. They were not given territory, but cities to dwell in. Among the Levites was recorded the name of Korah's line, still alive, though their father had perished in rebellion. And then the chapter ends with a quiet reminder. Not one of those counted by Moses and Aaron at Sinai remained, except Caleb and Joshua. God's promises don't die in the wilderness, but they wait for those who believe. A generation may fall, but His plan always rises again. Chapter 27, Daughters, Leadership, and the Passing of Authority. Then came the daughters of Zelophehad. He had died in the wilderness, a man with no sons. His 5 daughters, Mahlah, Noah, Hoglah, Milcah, and Tirzah, stood before Moses, Eleazar the priest, the leaders, and all the congregation at the entrance to the tent of meeting. They said, "Our father died in the wilderness. He was not among Korah's followers, but died for his own sin, and he had no sons. Why should his name disappear from his clan just because he had daughters? Give us property among our relatives." Moses brought their case before the Lord, and the Lord answered, "The daughters of Zelophehad are right. Give them an inheritance among their father's relatives. Pass his property on to them." Then God gave a broader law. If a man dies with no son, give his inheritance to his daughter. If no daughter, then to his brothers. If no brothers, to his uncles. If no uncles, to the nearest relative. A law of justice, a law of legacy. Then the Lord spoke to Moses, "Go up the mountain of Abarim. There you will see the land I am giving the Israelites. After you have seen it, you too will be gathered to your people, just as Aaron had died on Mount Hor." Moses responded, not for himself, but for the people. He said, "May the Lord, the God of the spirits of all mankind, appoint someone over this community to go out and come in before them, so the Lord's people will not be like sheep without a shepherd." And the Lord said, "Take Joshua, son of Nun, a man in whom is the Spirit, lay your hand on him, bring him before Eleazar the priest and the whole assembly, commission him in their sight." So Moses did. He laid his hands on Joshua and passed on his authority, as the Lord commanded. God cares for the overlooked. He upholds justice for daughters, and He prepares leaders before the journey reaches its end. Chapter 28, Daily Worship, Sacred Times, and Offerings to the Lord. The Lord spoke to Moses. He said, "Command the Israelites to be careful. Bring my offerings at the appointed times. Offer food as a pleasing aroma, offerings by fire. Each day offer 2 lambs, one in the morning, one at twilight. They must be without defect. Bring with each lamb a grain offering, flour mixed with oil, and a drink offering poured out to the Lord. This is the regular burnt offering, a daily rhythm of worship, morning and evening, without fail. On the Sabbath day, add 2 more lambs, along with grain and drink offerings. These are in addition to the daily offering. At the beginning of each month, hold a sacred assembly. Bring 2 young bulls, 1 ram, and 7 lambs, all without defect. Bring grain and drink offerings with each, and a male goat for a sin offering. This marks the new moon, a new beginning with God. In the first month, on the 14th day, celebrate the Lord's Passover. On the 15th day, begin the festival of unleavened bread. For 7 days, eat bread without yeast. Hold a sacred assembly on the first day. Do no ordinary work. Each day of the festival, present 2 bulls, 1 ram, and 7 lambs, with grain and drink offerings, and 1 male goat for a sin offering. Repeat this for all 7 days. On the 7th day, hold another sacred assembly. Do no ordinary work. Then comes the Festival of Weeks. Bring a new grain offering. Hold a sacred assembly. Do no work. Bring 2 bulls, 1 ram, 7 lambs, and 1 goat, with all the appropriate grain and drink offerings. These are to be offered regularly in addition to your vows, free will offerings, and your daily and monthly sacrifices. God called his people to worship with order, with rhythm, and with joy. He does not forget his people, so he asks them to remember him every day, every week, every season. Chapter 29, Trumpets, Atonement, and the Feast of Tabernacles. In the 7th month, God appointed sacred times, days set apart for worship, for repentance, and for joy. On the first day of the month, blow the trumpets, hold a sacred assembly, do no ordinary work, offer 1 young bull, 1 ram, 7 male lambs without defect. Present grain and drink offerings, and bring 1 male goat for a sin offering. On the 10th day of the month, observe the Day of Atonement. Humble yourselves. Bring offerings by fire. Offer 1 bull, 1 ram, 7 lambs, and 1 goat for sin. Then comes the 15th day. The Feast of Tabernacles begins. For 7 days you will live in tents, and each day you will bring offerings. On the first day, 13 bulls, 2 rams, 14 lambs, and 1 goat for sin. On the second day, 12 bulls. On the third, 11, then 10, then 9, then 8, then 7. On the 8th day, hold a closing assembly. Offer 1 bull, 1 ram, 7 lambs, and 1 goat for sin. These are in addition to your regular offerings, the daily sacrifices, the Sabbath sacrifices, the monthly offerings, and your personal vows and free will gifts. Each moment of the calendar was marked by worship, by remembrance, and by fire on the altar. He gave them the Lord's command. When a man makes a vow to the Lord or takes an oath to bind himself by a promise, he must not break his word. He must do everything he said. When a young woman, still living in her father's house, makes a vow to the Lord, and her father hears of it and says nothing, her vow stands. But if her father objects when he hears it, her vow is canceled, and the Lord will release her. If a woman is married and makes a vow or a binding promise, and her husband says nothing, her vow stands. But if her husband hears it and objects, he nullifies her vow, and the Lord releases her. If a widow or a divorced woman makes a vow, it stands. There is no one to cancel it. A husband may confirm or cancel his wife's vow, but if he says nothing day after day, he confirms it by his silence. If he cancels it later, after waiting, he bears the guilt of breaking it. These are the laws the Lord gave to Moses concerning vows and binding promises between a man and his wife or a father and his daughter. God does not take words lightly, neither should we. To promise before him is to step into sacred space. Let your yes be yes, and your vow a holy offering. Chapter 31, War, Judgment, and the Purging of Sin. The Lord spoke to Moses. He said, "Take vengeance on the Midianites for leading Israel into sin. After that, you will be gathered to your people." So Moses spoke to the people. He chose 12,000 men, 1,000 from each tribe. Phinehas, son of Eleazar the priest, went with them, carrying holy articles and trumpets for signaling. They fought against Midian, just as the Lord commanded. They killed all the men, including the 5 kings of Midian: Evi, Rekam, Zur, Hur, and Reba. They also killed Balaam, the prophet who had advised the Midianites how to make Israel stumble. The Israelites captured the women and children. They took flocks, herds, and goods as plunder. They burned the towns and camps, then brought everything back to Moses, Eleazar the priest, and the whole assembly. Moses was angry. He said, "Why have you let all the women live? These are the ones who led Israel into sin at Peor. Because of them, a plague struck the Lord's people. Now put to death every male child and every woman who has slept with a man, but keep alive the young girls who have never known a man." Then Eleazar gave instructions. Everything made of gold, silver, bronze, iron, tin, or lead must be passed through fire to be purified. Anything else must be cleansed with water. After 7 days, you may re-enter the camp. Then the Lord told Moses, "Divide the spoils between the soldiers and the rest of the community. Take a tribute from each half, one out of every 500 for the Lord. It belongs to the priests. And from the people's half, take one out of 50 for the Levites who care for the tabernacle." The soldiers had captured 675,000 sheep, 72,000 cattle, 61,000 donkeys, and 32,000 girls. The tribute was given just as the Lord commanded. Then the army officers came to Moses. They said, "Not one of our men is missing. We want to bring an offering to the Lord from what we took, as atonement for our lives." They gave gold jewelry, bracelets, rings, earrings, and necklaces, over 16,000 shekels of gold. Moses and Eleazar accepted it as a memorial before the Lord. Judgment is heavy, but obedience protects. And even in battle, God is holy, and every detail matters. Chapter 32, Settling East and the Promise to Fight. The tribes of Reuben and Gad had large herds and flocks. They saw that the land of Jazer and Gilead was good for livestock. So they came to Moses, Eleazar the priest, and the leaders. They said, "The Lord has already given victory over this land. Let us settle here. Do not make us cross the Jordan." But Moses was troubled. He said, "Shall your brothers go to war while you sit here?" He reminded them of their fathers, those who refused to enter the land before. It was because of that rebellion that the Lord's anger burned, and the people wandered for 40 years. Moses warned, "If you turn away now, you will bring destruction on this people again." Then the men of Gad and Reuben replied, "We will build pens for our flocks and cities for our families. But we ourselves will cross over, armed for battle. We will fight until every tribe has received their inheritance. Only then will we return to settle in this land." Moses agreed. "If you do what you say, if you go armed before the Lord into battle, and the land is subdued, then this land shall be yours. But if you fail, you will have sinned against the Lord, and your sin will find you out. Build your cities, prepare your flocks, but keep your word." So the tribes of Reuben and Gad, and half the tribe of Manasseh, received the land of Gilead. They rebuilt the towns, they named them again, and they settled there. Key: God honors commitment. When we walk in unity, no tribe is left behind, and promises made before the Lord must be kept with courage and follow through. Chapter 33, The Journey Remembered. These are the journeys of the people of Israel when they came out of Egypt under the leadership of Moses and Aaron. At the Lord's command, Moses recorded their starting points and their stages along the way. They set out from Ramesses on the 15th day of the first month, the day after the Passover, with boldness in the sight of all Egypt, while the Egyptians were bearing their firstborn, struck down by the Lord. Then began the journey, from Ramesses to Succoth, then to Etham on the edge of the desert, then to Pi-hahiroth, facing Baal-zephon, and they passed through the sea. From the sea to the wilderness of Etham, then to Marah, then to Elim, where 12 springs and 70 palm trees waited. They moved again and again, through the wilderness of Sin, to Dophkah, to Alush, to Rephidim, where there was no water, then to Sinai, and onward. Dozens of stops, each one recorded. Kibroth Hattaavah, the graves of Craving, Hazeroth, Rithmah, Rimmon Perez, Libnah, Mount Sheper, on, through places of fire, thirst, rebellion, and mercy, until they arrived at the plains of Moab, by the Jordan across from Jericho. There the Lord spoke to Moses, "When you cross the Jordan into Canaan, drive out all the inhabitants, destroy their idols, tear down their altars, take possession of the land, for I have given it to you. Distribute it by lot according to the size of each tribe. But if you do not drive them out, those you let remain will become thorns in your eyes and barbs in your sides. They will trouble you, and what I intended to do to them, I will do to you." Each place a lesson, each step a reminder that God leads, God keeps record, and God warns. The journey is almost over, but the inheritance is only for those who obey. Chapter 34. The boundaries of the promise and the leaders appointed. The Lord spoke to Moses. He said, "Command the Israelites. When you enter the land of Canaan, these are the boundaries the land will have. The southern boundary will start from the desert of Zin, along the border of Edom. It will run from the southern end of the Salt Sea, cross south of Scorpion Pass, and continue to Kadesh Barnea, then to Hazar Adar, and on to Asmon. It will turn and follow the Wadi of Egypt and end at the Mediterranean Sea. The western boundary will be the Mediterranean Sea itself. The northern boundary will go from the Mediterranean Sea to Mount Hor, then to Lebo Hamath, on to Zedad, then to Ziphron, and end at Hazar Enan. The eastern boundary will run from Hazar Enan to Shechem. It will go down to Riblah on the east side of Ain, then along the slopes east of the Sea of Galilee, down the Jordan River, and end at the Dead Sea. This will be your land, its boundaries on every side." Then the Lord said to Moses, "These are the men who will divide the land among you: Eleazar the priest and Joshua son of Nun. And from each tribe appoint one leader to help. From Judah, Caleb son of Jephunneh. From Simeon, Shemuel son of Ammihud. From Benjamin, Eladad son of Kislon. From Dan, Buki son of Yogli. From Manasseh, Haniel son of Ephod. From Ephraim, Kemuel son of Shipton. From Zebulun, Elizaphan son of Parnak. From Issachar, Paltiel son of Azan. From Asher, Ahihud son of Shalomi. From Naphtali, Pedahel son of Ammihud. These are the men the Lord commanded to assign the inheritance to the Israelites in the land of Canaan. God's promises are not vague. They have borders, they have structure, and He appoints leaders to help His people receive what He has already given. Chapter 35. Cities for the Levites and refuge for the accused. On the plains of Moab, by the Jordan across from Jericho, the Lord spoke to Moses. He said, "Command the Israelites to give the Levites towns to live in from the inheritance each tribe receives. Also give them pasture land around the towns. These towns will be their homes, and the land will be for their flocks and herds. You must give the Levites 48 towns in total, include 6 cities of refuge. They will be spread throughout Israel. Every tribe must contribute. The larger tribes give more, the smaller tribes give less, but all must share." Then the Lord said, "Designate 6 of the 48 towns as cities of refuge. Anyone who kills a person unintentionally may flee there. These cities will protect the killer from revenge until they stand trial before the assembly. 3 cities will be on the west side of the Jordan, 3 on the east. They will serve all people, Israelite and foreigner alike. But if someone kills another deliberately, with iron, stone, or wood, that person is a murderer. They must be put to death. No ransom is accepted for a murderer. Only death satisfies justice. If the act was not premeditated, the accused may flee to a city of refuge. They must stay there until the death of the high priest. After that, they may return home, free and without fear. If they leave the city too soon and are found by the avenger of blood, they may be killed without guilt. The assembly must judge fairly. One witness is not enough to convict. Multiple witnesses are required. No ransom is accepted for anyone deserving death. Do not pollute the land with blood. Bloodshed defiles the land, and no atonement can be made for the land except by the blood of the one who shed it. Do not desecrate the land where you dwell, for I, the Lord, dwell among the Israelites." God values justice and mercy. He makes room for the innocent, but does not overlook the guilty. He protects the land because He dwells there. And where God lives, life and law must walk together. Chapter 36. Inheritance, integrity, and the final word. Then the leaders of Gilead, descendants of Machir son of Manasseh, approached Moses and the leaders. They said, "The Lord commanded that land be given to the daughters of Zelophehad, because their father died with no sons. But if they marry into another tribe, their land will leave our tribe and be added to theirs. When the year of Jubilee comes, we will lose part of our inheritance." So Moses brought their concern to the Lord. And the Lord said, "What the tribe of Joseph's descendants says is right. Here is my command. The daughters of Zelophehad may marry anyone they wish, but only within their own tribal clan. This way, inheritance stays within the tribe. No inheritance is to pass from one tribe to another. Every Israelite must keep the land of their ancestors. So Mahlah, Tirzah, Hoglah, Milcah, and Noah, the daughters of Zelophehad, married their cousins within the tribe of Manasseh. Their inheritance remained with their father's clan. These are the commands and laws the Lord gave through Moses on the plains of Moab, by the Jordan, across from Jericho. Kokit video, Ketsak Dan Soki, Jesus leads Bible journey. And so the book of Numbers ends, from census to sacrifice, from rebellion to restoration, from the foot of Sinai to the edge of the promised land. We've walked through deserts. We've heard the cry of complainers, the silence of judgment, the clash of battles, and the whisper of promise. We've seen leaders rise and others fall. We've seen a generation pass and another stand ready. And through it all, God has remained the same, faithful, holy, and just. The journey is not over, but a new beginning is near. The people are poised to enter the land, and their hearts are being shaped not just by where they've been, but by the one who brought them here. The wilderness taught them obedience. The law taught them justice. The journey taught them trust. And through it all, God was with them. The book of Numbers ends not with arrival, but with readiness. A new generation stands at the border. They carry the memory of failure, the weight of the law, and the hope of a land promised long ago. They are not the same as those who left Egypt. They are a people refined by fire, disciplined by delay, and led by a faithful God who never left their side. In the wilderness, God formed a nation. Now he prepares them to walk forward, not just into Canaan, but into covenant living. The journey continues. Thank you for joining us on this journey through the book of Numbers. May the lessons of obedience, trust, and holiness continue to guide your heart as you walk with the God who leads through deserts and into promise. Don't forget to subscribe for the next step in this Bible journey. We'll see you in the book of Deuteronomy.